because at the end of the day, I still want to be able I don't dislike George Washington. I don't dislike even some of the most racist people in history. But I want to know their history, but I also want to know not only that, hey, they were whatever, but I also want to know about the Shirley Chisholms. I also want to know about the Frederick Douglass. And not even Nat Turner. I want to know more about Nat Turner than him just being some revolutionary. I want to know the Nat Turner that was out in the fields. I want to know the Nat Turner that grew up as a kid. I don't want to know just the narrative. Tuned in to Urban Conservative. 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 Tuned in to Urban Conservative.
Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Fighting for my bread. Grew from the seed you thought was rock. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial, to rise from former ashes to face new trial or triumph. I am enough. Trial to triumph. I am enough. Every day I fight for my life. Every day fighting for my life. Bullets, concrete, pollution in vain, corruption, lies, change the game, refrain from damnation of illusionary confusion, don't follow the illusion, don't fall for the tricks, I don't miss it, this fight comes from the strife I gave. Fight comes from the strife I gave, fighting for our people's rights. We this fight comes from the strife I gave. Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. We have a right to a full and living, thriving life, not just get by. I will testify to take an oath to keep fighting for my life. This fight comes from the strife I gave.
Good morning, 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 and welcome to a special episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. Today, I'm going to dive into a movement that's shaking foundations of higher education across the nation, from the bustling streets of New York City to the tranquil campuses of California. Students are raising their voices in a powerful call for accountability and justice. At the heart of this movement is a demand for this divestment from institutions supporting the oppressive regime in Israel. Students driven by a sense of moral obligation and a desire for change are taking to the streets and campus squares, united in their quest for justice. Um, I wanted to talk about that because, we've seen in 2020 with George Floyd, we've seen with Breonna Taylor, we've seen the protest of 2020, right? Um, and there's so much going on. And that's what I really wanted to get into today. I want to keep this simple and short, straight to the point. Because history, I always talk about history. One thing that I try to convey and make sure that people understand is that if we don't understand our history, how are we going to understand where we're supposed to go? And I'm going to stand on that because I don't believe that we as people understand our history. So we sure the fuck don't know where we're going. It's like we're out here with blinders on. We're out here with blindfolds and trying to find the best destination, right? But yet, as we're blind, we follow behind people that lead us in the wrong direction. But once we take them blinders off and we start heading in the right direction, we see that there's not many people along that route. There's not many people on that road, right? Because the masses believe in these politics and that a president or a Biden or a Trump or these nonprofits are going to help us, when at the end of the day, they're not. Today is April 25th, 2024. The last time Flint, Michigan had clean water was April 24th, 2012 or 2014, I believe it was. But yet we're sending billions to other countries for wars when we can't even take care of our own people. We have homelessness. We have a drug epidemic, a fentanyl epidemic that is worse than crack, because I'll tell you right now, niggas wasn't out there selling crack for $1 or $2 a pill. That's how much of abundance this shit is. They literally, when you can make these pills in your storage room or your basement, and then you can buy the pill pressing machines that off Amazon. How are we talking about we love our kids or we love our youth when we're not even ready to have these conversations? Let's be honest. Because I'll tell you right now, we're not saving shit. If we can't literally have conversations about fentanyl, right? And how this shit is killing our kids, how this shit is erasing our streets. And then yet we have the education system that is ignoring the problems in our communities because they're not teaching kids about history. They're not teaching kids about civics. They're not teaching kids how to change where they come from so that they don't have to be products of their environment, so that they don't have to be the so-called victims, because that's what we have in us is victim mentality. We grow up, we see our parents or we see the communities that we come from, right? But then we also know that there's a greater, bigger world. But how do we get there? Because at the end of the day, no matter about our education, no matter about because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of niggas that thought they were hood rich. When y'all are staying in the projects, you're not giving back to your community. You're not educating. How was that growth and development? And that's one thing. I was just in a conversation on Twitter not too long ago, and it was astonishing to me because somebody asked me, they were like, why are you gangbanging? And I said, I'm not gangbanging. All I'm taking is the principles of an organization that I was raised in, that I followed, right? That I believed in, just like how everybody today believes in BLM, or you believe in the Democrats, or you believe in the Republicans. I believed in something that was greater than myself, right? I believed in principles, right? And when you know better, you do better. It was about growth and development. But I see that our government has literally changed organizations that were for the community and for the empowerment of our people and changed them into gangs or changed them into terrorist, so-called terrorist organizations, when all they were doing is fighting for the liberation of our people. Bless up, brother. Bless up. That's all they were doing. So yeah, if when motherfuckers want to ask me, are, are you a GD? Yeah, growth and development. I don't know about none of this gangster discipleship. I know about growth and development. That's what I know about. I know about growth and development. And I don't see that out here. All these niggas that are claiming to be something, you're not. Stop it. If you're out here putting that shit up your nose, right? If you're up here tooting, if you up here jamming your wrist or not jamming your veins, stop calling yourself something. This is the one thing that I found out when I went to prison, that whole shit was a setup, right? You literally had so-called shot callers in here getting a dick sucked by faggots or so-called wannabe women. And the crazy thing, a motherfucker just last year died. And it was crazy to me how I'm like, that, you know what, that motherfucker got what he deserved. Stop trying to be something that you're not and just be who you are. Stop telling niggas you something that you're not when you literally got a dick behind your legs. And you out here trying to act like you a woman. Stop it. And then we teaching that shit to our kids, gender queer, all this extra shit. Come on, y'all ain't ready for these conversations. I'm okay with being who you want to be, right? But we literally are. That's what's crazy. I know motherfuckers ain't paying attention because literally you have damn near every school district in Minnesota, and not even just Minnesota, across the great nation of America that are fighting about books. And I agree to a certain point that, yeah, those books, if it has anything to do with about gender and about sexual education, that isn't something that okay, first of all, sex education, the way that they're teaching it now, y'all are gone too far. Y'all have gone too far. They've gone too far. And where's our leaders? Where's our leaders? Where's the church? Where's the conservative people? Where's the people with family values? Fuck anything else. Where's the people with principles, integrity? Where are those people at? Because I see this is the one thing that trips me out, because I'm starting to lose a lot of respect for people. A lot of respect, because you literally know things, but yet continually will post and uplift these people instead of calling them out. You're part of the problem. And that's what I swear to God, I'm going to literally, at the end of the day, like, this shit isn't about politics to me, man. I don't give a fuck about no politics. I don't give a fuck if you're a Democrat. I don't give a fuck if you're a Republican. I don't give a fuck if you're voting for Joe Biden. I don't give a fuck if you're voting for Donald Trump, right? What I want you to do is to educate our communities about civics, about executive, about legislative, about judicial. So how all of that works, right? So that when we have things that come up in Minnesota, like Miss Mitchell, Senator Mitchell, when the police report and the 911 phone call says something totally different than what she's stating, right? Because I've seen people that look like me, that a little bit darker, that have passed crimes in the legislature, right? When they were representatives, right? Passed. These people are catching crimes now, and yet they go to the Capitol and vote for things. And I understand why they do what they do. It's the system at play, right? Because we have all, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because at the end of the day, you guys have bullshit on both sides of it. We can talk about DWIs. They can talk about Tom Emmer or Breon, whatever, Curran, or they can talk about Mitchell. But then we can go on the Republican side too, is talk about Um, Anton Lazaro, a GOP Republican outreach activist, whatever the fuck you wanted to call him, was sitting here trafficking girls in our community. And I didn't see the Republicans speaking up about that. Just like the Democrats don't speak up about the drugs and the guns that they bring into the communities. You don't see Cedric Frazier or Bobby Champion, or I'll even say the Attorney General Keith Ellison. They're not fighting gun violence. They're not even fighting gun crime. They're fighting the automakers, the gun makers, the makers of these, that instead of actually going after the criminals. I just seen a video yesterday on Instagram of a tow truck driver in Minneapolis who towed a bunch of vehicles that were just laid out Kias, right? Well, one of them still had the iPhone charger still hooked up. So he showed people of how easy it was. Boom, boom. And I'm like, what's crazy is I'm glad that we have individuals like that are coming out and speaking the truth, because I see that people are trying to do the club again. Well, he just showed, don't do the club. That doesn't work. Please stop doing the club. It doesn't work on that shit. It doesn't work, because you can still start the car. And once you start the car, you can turn the wheel, right? And it takes that off. It doesn't matter if it's locked or not. I'm going to tell you that right now. It doesn't matter if it's locked or not. You can still get that off, the club off. So people just got to understand in today's times that there is enough information. And I just understand that people don't want to research. They don't want to research. You can make ghost guns. You can make guns right in your crib, just like with these pills. There's videos all over the place. But I ranted enough for today. I want to get into this. I talk about history. And this video is, so with everything going on with Palestine, I wanted to talk about 1968 because this lays basically everything that is going on today went on years before, right? History repeats itself, right? We've had pandemics that have shut down America. You know, we've had other things. We've had civil wars, we've had world wars, and there's always things leading up to it. Well, let's get into 1968, right? Because there was protest. We have an election year. We have a Democratic National Convention that is going on in Chicago this summer. We have one, the Republican National Convention is going on in Milwaukee. But I see a lot of groups are planning on going out to Chicago in August. And I'm just telling people, watch out, because history repeats itself. History repeats itself. And I just want people to be informed, because the same things that they were fighting in 1968 are the same things we're still fighting now today, right? So I want people to remember that. As you're watching Democracy Now!, I want you to, this little clip that I have about 1968, please listen.
Now, I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. 56 years ago today, hundreds of students at Columbia University buildings, including the president's office and the library. The students barricaded themselves inside the buildings for a week. They were protesting Columbia's ties to military research and plans to build a university gymnasium in a public park in Harlem. The protests began less than 3 weeks after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. The 1968 Columbia uprising led to one of the largest mass arrests in New York City history. A week into the strike, April 30th, New York City police stormed the campus of Columbia University. Hundreds of students were injured, 700 arrested. Images of the police assault were broadcast around the country. This is a clip from Columbia Revolt by Third World Newsreel.
They got over 700 of us on charges of criminal trespass, resisting arrest, all kinds of other, some of which was real and some of which was completely fake.
I know of nurses and doctors that pleaded with the police not to proceed, to please let these men alone, and they would say, no, that's get away. This is our job.
I was arrested. They would not allow me to see a doctor. I had broken ribs. My face was cut. I got hit with a pistol under the eye, and I was bleeding there, and I wasn't allowed to see a doctor until I got out of court, which was approximately 10 hours later.
But I was awarded a fellowship for next year. What the hell I'm sorry. What does it mean? I'm going to strike, but I hope I don't see how any teacher, I don't see how any student can attend this school anymore. And I was completely liberal about the whole thing. This bus has radicalized everybody, and me very personally.
No, I was a non-violent student. I was completely passive. I didn't care what happened. I was completely neutral. I'm not neutral any longer. I'll occupy buildings tomorrow.
The 1968 Columbia Uprising inspired student protests across the country. This is Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez, then a Columbia student, speaking during the strike.
Now we want to go into the dorms with all of you, with some of you who may not agree with a lot of what we've been saying here, who have questions, who support us, who want to know more. Let's go to the dorms. Let's talk quietly in small groups. We'll be there, and everyone in Livingston Lobby, Inferno Lobby, and Carmen Lobby. We'll be there, and we'll talk about the issues involved, and we'll talk about where this country is going, and where this university is going, and what it's doing in this society, and what we would like it to do, and how we would like to exchange with you our ideas over it. Come join us now.
That was Juan Gonzalez, courtesy of the Pacifica Radio Archives. And Juan is here now, courtesy of Democracy Now!, co-host of Democracy Now! Juan, talk about that moment. We're talking about 56 years ago. Talk about then and what you see as the echoes of today.
Well, I mean, I think the important thing to understand is that the Columbia strike unfolded over several weeks. The first week was the week of the occupation, but because of the brutality of the attacks by the police, as you said, more than 150 people were hospitalized. The night of April 30th, massively over 10,000 students shut the university down for the rest of the semester. And I think what is really unusual about this process is that here the university moved in very quickly.
See, and that's the whole part for me is if you look at it now, right? Columbia University has literally gone hybrid virtual for the rest of the semester, right? I know the dates are a little bit off, but we're really not off by much in these dates, right? And that's what I want people to watch is go back in history, because I want you guys to go back not only from 1968, right, but go up to leading to the presidential elections right after them years, right, in 1968, because we had the Chicago 7, right? It was the same things that these people are fighting for now: reparations, Black liberation, police brutality, our education system, anti-war. I want people to be aware. I want people to wake up and realize what is going on. Because I'll tell you right now, if we really thought that 2020 was bad, right? Because I've gone back and I've literally through the first, I think we're through the first 100 and some days, right? Almost 120 days now. If you go back into 2020, we've had more things happen this year than we did in 2020. And it's crazy because I look back at the times. In April, there was a few things that happened, but it really wasn't until the end of May, right, when George happened, when Minneapolis and Derek killed. Yeah, right. I 100% agree with you, Ben. 100% agree with you. And it's starting early. And that's what I want people to be aware. So I've got some other videos that I want to show, but I just wanted to give a little bit of history going forward of what we're dealing with. And so right now, you literally, I made a post this morning on the Leon block. There is 34 universities that are protesting right now, that have occupation zones. We've seen that a lot in 2020. We've seen that with Chaz, the Chaz Chop Zone out in Seattle and Portland. They still have George Floyd Square. That is the longest occupation zone in America right now, going on almost 4 years. So I want people to understand what is going on, but I also want people to watch out for the players from 2020, especially if you're in Minnesota. Watch out. I'm going to tell you right now, because what I seen yesterday on video disgusted me to see the Lavish Max, the TCC for J, CPAC, and all these other Black Lives Matter groups come out and try to, I'm going to say this, you're going to have BLM attempt to hijack these movements. There's going to be a hijacking, because right now they're peaceful, but they see that the police are doing the usual shit. And that's what I want people to be aware of. These are peaceful protests. These are college students. So if you're seeing anything that is of an uptick in violence that you believe is violence, please believe that is not the students. That is people coming in to hijack something so that they can make it bigger. This is a fucking election year, people. Wake up. Wake up, because I'll tell you right now, if you think, here's the thing, they just banned TikTok, right? So TikTok's got to sell, or somebody's got to buy them, right? Or TikTok is gone. You have given all this money to Ukraine. What is one thing that is coming out in the news big time? Our infrastructure. Why are we not trying to protect our infrastructure? Because what is the first thing that they're going to attempt to hit is our infrastructure. And they're going to say that it's going to be terrorists, right? We're so busy looking for somebody that doesn't look like us, right? The whole time it's going to be a self-sabotage. They want this to happen, and that's the sick part. But let me play this video, and because I want people to see, because there is a chaos on campus.
Us on campus. Protesters at U.S. clash with public safety officers. Campus security overwhelmed. LAPD coming onto campus to assist, detaining dozens, trying to disperse the crowd.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fox 11 News at 10 o'clock. I'm Marla Tejas here for Alex Michelson.
And I'm Christine Devine. We have live team coverage of today's hours-long demonstrations and arrests on USC campus.
Fox 11's Gina Silva and Ed Laskos talking to protesters, police, and students. We begin tonight with Ed. You were there, Ed, when officers moved in with batons and zip ties.
Marla, you're right. A wild scene here playing out for several hours, but now the occupation of Alumni Park is over. Latest numbers coming in from LAPD command. 93 protesters have been arrested so far, but the drama here continues. Joab will give you a look. The campus itself is closed, sealed off. This is one of the main gates, Vermont, and 36th Place. It is shut down by campus police, by a small army of LAPD as the drama continues. Watch. Chaos in the very center of the USC campus. LAPD moving in, ending the occupation of Alumni Park as tactical squads surround the park, sealing it off, turning it into a tense face-off with hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters. A wild scene with bottles and liquid being tossed at the officers who gave protesters a deadline to leave the park or else.
Hopefully they start dispersing and leaving the area, then we'll go ahead and go to that next step.
And if they do not leave?
If they don't leave, then they'll be placed under private person's arrest by the department, and they'll be subject to arrest for trespassing.
Tensions began to heat up hours earlier with USC's Department of Public Safety officers moving in to confiscate some tents and detain a protester. That led to a scuffle, pushing, shoving, yelling, with the standoff growing from there, forcing USC to even close its campus anybody who's unauthorized. Hundreds of protesters already on campus, locked arms to face arrest.
Because like most of them are students. These people are not criminal. They're not criminal.
One by one, the protesters led away, some 70 of them arrested and booked, all to make their demands for USC to end its ties with Israeli Canadian investments.
I love it. I love it. I think it's very necessary. I hope it doesn't escalate the way it has at Columbia University. I think.
So I want to stop there for a minute because that wasn't Omar's sister. That's her daughter. That's the crazy part. So Omar's daughter is actually the one that has been arrested, suspended from the University of Barnard, which is I guess it's a part of Columbia University. Or for my that I don't know. I'll be 100. Thank you. People also need to remember the Occupy Wall Street. See, and there's so many things where these people can come in and just take over. But I want to say that that the person that was arrested wasn't Omar's sister, it was her daughter. And this is a comment that was made on Twitter. So if you can go look up Millie Weaver. She posted detailed reports of the Sunrise Movement, which shows how foreign NGOs, non-government organizations, influence U.S. politics. Grassroots really isn't. And this comment is from Mark. I don't know if you're watching. You are so correct. Grassroots is not what they portray it to be. Grassroots is just another word for a money hustle. It's another, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? There was a Zoom meeting calling for kids to be, I can't pronounce that word, but heroes, basically, bragging they got outcome they wanted in 2020 and defund the police. So yes, that's what exactly, they didn't get what they wanted accomplished. So they're literally going to use these kids because I'll tell you right now, everybody knows that, and this is the one thing, especially because I've seen it happen in Minneapolis. And this is what I'm asking, right? I'm asking for, I know I have state legislators, not just in Minnesota that watch, but in other places. I know there's at least one congressman that watches. And I want to say this. If you are listening, let's pull back on the police a little bit, right? Because all we're going to do is when they show little videos of the police abusing, right, their power and going in full force, because here's the thing of it is, right, you see all these police departments talking about they're understaffed. But how are you understaffed when you literally can, in a snap of a finger, right? When it comes to crime, we're understaffed. When it comes to dealing with homeless encampments, when it comes to dealing with peaceful protests, you guys can find the numbers. So something ain't smelling right to me. And that's what I want people to watch out for, because the police presence that I've seen in the last couple days, I can guarantee it, National Guards are going to be called here within, I would say, by the end of the weekend. Because New York, the numbers are even in Minnesota, the numbers are, it's nice outside, right? We're back to spring. People ain't got nothing better to do. You damn near got schools almost out. The violence is going to uptick, right? Because just this last weekend in Minneapolis, they had over 84 car thefts, and some of them are carjackings. And I hate the way Minneapolis does their data now, because they don't decipher it anymore. They want to show people how to, they actually, yeah. People lie, numbers don't. I want you to remember that. But let's get back into this video, and because I want people to pay attention.
lots of emotion to go along with it. Again, the latest numbers, 93 protesters arrested. Most of the protesters, the ones who left before LAPD moved in, came out these gates, hit the streets, Vermont, up to Jefferson, and up to some of the cross streets here, continuing the protest on city streets. Gina Silva waiting for. She is live with that part of the story. Gina, to you.
Thank you, Ed. The demonstrators, at least on this side of the campus, have already left. They were unable to establish their tents, their encampments here on campus. Many of the demonstrators across the country, they were successful at other universities, but not here. Tonight, we spoke with USC faculty, USC students, and protesters. This is their point of view of what today.
I think the students have their voices and they need to be heard. It's exactly
must be reinstated to give her valedictory speech at the graduation.
The students' rights to protest. You know, college students are always connected to social issues.
I'm really just disappointed in reaction and how she's do it, and it doesn't feel good.
The protesters are demanding USC cut financial ties to Israel and divest from companies supporting and enabling the war in Gaza.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. That was crazy. Um, I don't even know what just happened. I apologize. Wow, that was crazy. I don't know how long it's been cut off. Um, but I wanted to bring up the point that they said that anti-Semitism was up in Semitic. I wanted what Semitic means, right? And I'm going to leave it off at this is Semitic initially described Middle Eastern languages like Hebrew and Arabic. Now it's linked to the ethnic and cultural groups speaking these languages, including Jews, Arabs, and other groups in the region. It covers both language families and their speakers. So I wanted people to remember and to recognize that Semitic isn't what we think that it means. And I really think that we need to go research. I think we need to understand what words mean because words have meanings, right? But once we understand the meaning behind those words and what they really stand for in the history, then we can understand. And I think once we understand history, we can understand where we're going. But we don't understand history, not the real history, right? Because you still have schools out here teaching that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Oh, yes. I just played that, Matt. It wasn't, you know what's crazy is you've had Minnesota, you've had Atlanta. I just seen it on
I just had a thing come up on my Twitter. Um, Atlanta, they're asking for help. Cop City, um, they're trying to. It's everywhere. Texas, Boston, Chicago. I just seen set up. Um, so you Harvard, you got Ivy League schools, right? And the crazy thing of it is what I want people to understand. These are kids that pay to go to school. You know, Ben brought up about Omar. Her daughter, they pay. I just seen that she pays $90,000 a year to go to school there. Now you're suspended. $90,000 a year. So these kids are rich kids. There are who are paying tuition. And then yet we see journalists being beaten and arrested again. So are we going to go through the same shit that we went through 2020? Are we going to finally stop looking the other way and stand up and speak up and say something? Because now is the time. Don't let this shit go on, drag on, right? Don't let it drag on. Let's get up, stand up, and fight for our rights. Right? The revolution is us, we the people, because government isn't going to help us. It is going to be an ugly summer, Matt. You are so right. It's going to be an ugly summer. It is definitely going to be an ugly summer. And it's already starting. It's already starting. And I'm glad that, you know, here in Minneapolis, we will be doing Operation Hug the Block initiative for 90 days. You know, it's never wrong to follow behind greatness, right? So we're going to do what others before us have done. Philly Truce, which and Stop Killing Us, started Operation Hug the Block. Marcus and Black Lives in Streets, that's what we're doing. It's Operation Hug the Block. We're doing a 90-day initiative this summer in Minneapolis, not just the north side, but we're doing the south side, southeast, southwest, doesn't matter, northeast, northwest, because we're hugging each block. We're going to show people that we can do this. It doesn't matter if you're gay, doesn't matter if you're trans, doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black. You live in that community for a reason because you love that community, right? So let's start loving one another the way that we love our communities. Forget all of these reasons to dislike each other and look at the reasons for why we love living in our communities, because we want to see it beautiful. So let's uplift each other, right? Let's uplift. Let's uplift and let's fight for our communities. Let's fight for integrity. Let's fight for family values. Or do we just all lose hope? So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm having internet issues, I see, because it came back in and out. But I want people to, it's Thursday. Please, 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 get out and do something, right? Go register voters. That vote is your voice. And vote on policy. Don't vote because you think the person is the lesser of two evils. No, don't do that. Let's stop doing that. Because that's what's going to happen this year, right? Especially with the Democratic Party. They're going to tell you to vote for Biden because it's voting for the lesser of two evils. No, don't do that. Let's stop the bullshit. Let's stop the bullshit. And let's make our votes count locally so that we can get change globally, right? Because we have to start locally first. Because I'll tell you right now, that's the one crazy part of what bothers me about this, everything that is going on, right? These people have the power, they have the attention. And then instead of using it the right way, they're using it for people to get behind a presidential candidate, Trump, instead of getting behind people locally so that we can start making change nationally, right? Because we got to do that in our own backyards first. The president is just executive. That's why I tell people we need to understand how civics works. how our government works, how our political system works, right? Because until we understand what executive, legislative, and judicial actually means, and we see that shit for what it really is, because voting for Trump isn't going to do shit for us locally. And do we care more about what's going on in our backyards, or do we care more about getting some little crooked ass white man in the office? I'm just asking a real ass question, because that's what I see. I see people out here shaking that ass for politics. Niggas out here twerking for dollars, twerking for votes. And I don't mean by twerking that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the dance. I'm talking about niggas just out here doing whatever they're gonna do, selling their souls for politics. For politics. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, Bobby, Champion, Cedric Frazier, Liz Bolden, I'm very disappointed, because I know damn well that matter of fact, you guys already did it to John for his past, but yet you won't call out Senator Mitchell and ask her to resign for dressing up in all black and talking about she was going to get ashes, her dad's ashes, which her stepmother sent to her, and you're dressed in all black, and you have a key, but yet went in a window. Man, y'all got to make that shit make sense to me. How is this lady not resigning from our state legislature? How? Her constituents should be asking her to resign. And this is why we don't get no justice and accountability. We don't even get truth and transparency. And I want people to remember that. So, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great Thursday. Urban conservative.